So first things first, June, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's very good to hear. Yeah, thank you for taking the time out of your day to talk with us. Now, before we get into it, you had your, I believe, first European tour earlier
First
this
one,
year.
man.
How important was that tour for you, and what did you kind of experience in terms of the reception?
It was, man, it's going into it, didn't know what I was going to get into, how it was going to turn out. Interesting enough, the Netherlands was the first city I hit,
Right.
Rotterdam, and we sold it out before I got on tour. So that was the only city that sold out before the rest of the leg. So, I was like, okay, we got the first city done, and I didn't know what I was going to walk into with any of the other cities. So it just kind of kept going, and we kept selling out every city as we would get into the cities, those specific dates. But man, it was really interesting. The reception was amazing. I didn't know what I was gonna feel or what I was gonna actually have in the room and the kind of energy, but it was, man, it was overwhelmingly amazing. Like I was really happy with the tour, the run, the reception, the feedback. It was it was electric, man. It was really, really nice.
That's awesome to hear. And I believe in Rotterdam, there is a big uh, Cape Verdean community. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I want to jump back a little bit to your own roots. Growing up around kind of all that music, and I don't even know all the different genres that are
Yeah.
played, but growing up around so much music, what made you decide that that was going to be your path?
Man, so growing up in Cape Verde, I was born in America, but with 3 years old, I moved back to Cape Verde
Yeah.
because my parents went back to work with the government. So from 3 to 15, I lived in Cape Verde.
Okay.
And I would always hear music in the house, and it was always traditional Cape Verdean music for the most part. And I was always, listening as I was growing up. But then my mom opened up a restaurant in 2001, and that's when she would have live musicians every weekend
Mm,
in a restaurant. So at the age of 11, that's where I started singing with the live band every weekend at my mom's place. So that's where it kind of
okay.
started.
What is there one memory of a night there that sticks out?
Man, Ildo Lobo, which is one of my biggest inspiration. I used to dress like him. I still wear the beret like him. He was performing like 5 minutes away from my mom's restaurant one. I would always listen to him. He's like a big legend back home. His name is Ilu Lobu. He passed away many years ago, and he's considered one of our most sought out artists back home. So
Mm,
I would always listen to him when I was a kid, like I was telling you at home when my mom
sure.
played the records. But when I got to see him perform live and then get to perform with him and like become friends with him was like the deciding factor that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I never thought about anything else. I didn't care about
Okay.
school, care about anything but singing and playing with the live band since I was a youngster. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, I want to go through these cities quite quickly because I don't know how long you spent there and how instrumental they were in your kind of musical development. But first, very
Yeah.
quickly, going back to Boston, then what was
Yeah.
Boston like?
It was different. It was a different environment. It was a different music is backgrounds. It was more hip hop, it was country, it was
Mm,
that I started learning about Prince and Jimi Hendrix and rock music. In Cape Verde when I grew up, it was just Cape Verde. I didn't even know I could barely speak English. I could speak it
okay,
because they taught me in school, but like for the most part, it was traditional Cape Verdean music, just that. And moving back to the US, it was just completely different culture shock, man. It was like, what the fuck? So got into that and it was learn how to play the guitar and do a lot of busking as well in the train stations to learn, develop and learn how to really project. And that's where I kind of got into a whole different side of me and just exploring different genres, different languages. And that's why my albums all accumulated with four different languages and all my
right.
my stuff. So yeah, it was a meshing of both, I believe, that pretty much represents my sound and what I do now. Yeah.
And then I imagine New York being even more multicultural. There was only an extension of that, right?
Yeah, that's where I was playing in the train stations with a Brazilian friend actually,
Okay.
who taught me how to like busk, and we would do harmonies together in the train, and they give us more dollars. And days that I was shy to sing and I wouldn't sing, he was like, get the fuck back. Let's do this. Yeah, man, it was different, very different than Cape Verde, very different culture shock and a way of life even. So yeah.
I imagine that, like you say, busking on the streets or in train stations and
Yeah.
kind of cutting your teeth in that way, and also developing your craft as you were still kind of figuring
Yeah.
things out. Looking back now, where you are now, how important was that time for you?
Man, I feel like it's a part of the journey to they say takes 10 years for overnight success and I'm still trying to figure it out. But it's like all of that, all of that grit that I've learned and things that I went through in that way is absolutely, you know, fundamental to my growing and to my sound and to everything that I'm doing now. Now it becomes easier for me to do it because I went through all that stuff, you know.
Mm. Was there ever a time where your passion got really tested?
Every day. I mean,
Okay.
shit, you know, in this industry, especially now that everything's just, you know, everything's fast paced and
Mm.
things like that, you get discouraged. And but I keep reminding myself to go back to that little kid in my mom's restaurant that liked to do it not because of accolades or numbers or all of
Sure.
that. Focus on the good music, man. Focus on things that feel good and feel honest, and the rest will, whatever they got planned will happen. Whatever God got planned for me will happen. But I just focus on things that feel good for the most part now. And I just try to remember that little kid in my mom's restaurant, you know, really doing it because it was what I really enjoyed and the only thing I wanted to do, really.
Is that where the word freedom then comes from? I suppose there's many meanings for it, but that freedom to just enjoy what you're doing.
Well, no, June. My dad's a senior, I'm a junior, so June came from junior. But
Mhm.
Freedom came from a guitar case that I was actually
Okay.
busted with in the train stations in New York City. I was playing with this guitar that had a case that had a logo that said Freedom on it. And then my friends, family, everyone was just like, "Yeah, man, you feel free when you strum the guitar a little bit more." And they just kind of, it's just like a
Okay.
joke thing, and they just kind of stuck. And now it's June Freedom.
But I can imagine, and even just listening to your music, it feels like there's such a sense of freedom in just the way you approach music. Is that fair to say?
Ah, man, I guess I feel like I like to make things feel a little bit lighter in spirit when when I'm doing music because it's a heavy world and it's a lot of things going on that I feel like we all go through with the human condition.
Sure.
The it's a it's a journey. So I just try to find moments and peaceful things that I can, you know, regurgitate and put into my music. So you feel the lightness, you feel that, you know, you smoke a joint, relax, and just fall back and listen to the vibe. So yeah, I feel the freedom in my music.
And then finally, the sunshine of LA. What was that transition like?
That was a whole nother world. Coming here, a lot of the industries here, right? So
Right.
you get to see other, you know, get to get in the studios with some really I got to work with a lot of like reputable artists that are like killing it now. I wrote and produced as well on some of many artists. I was writing when I came to LA, it's funny because the first few years I was doing like live shows. I got a band. We was hitting the circuit. I was doing like lot of live gigs. And then a few years after that, I stopped doing that and just kind of got into like producer and writer mode and try to understand how the industry works and, you know, meeting with friends, getting lit, getting in the studio, producing songs for others and things like that. So that was a whole nother, you know, side of the industry that I didn't know. And I got to
Mm,
like, and how to I was a fly on the wall, walk in for a Rihanna session or walk in for a Sway Lee session or French Montana and just
sure.
sit there and see how people move and how they go about doing these sessions and things like that. And I kind of got good at that too. And, you know, and took that and made it my own experience. And now I get the records quicker.
No, but was my question. Did that kind of help you find your own musical identity
Yeah,
or fi figure
absolutely.
out what you wanted to
Yeah,
convey to the people?
absolutely. Absolutely. Because doing for others, you kind of just learn how to do for yourself as well at the same time.
Mm,
And for sure, kind of molded my musical identity out as I was going. And even I had some stuff that sounded super R&B or even hip hop-ish at a point in time. And I'm like, you know what? Let me go back to where I came from and focus on that, but bring the experiences and the R&B. Some of my songs, it might be Afrobeat, but you might hear some R&B melodies and stuff.
mm,
So it's like a interpolation of all the things that, a journey and everything that I've seen and been through, especially in
sure.
the industry, right?
How do you see that evolution then going from the debut album Anchor Baby to now Seven Seas? How do you see that? Are you refining kind of your musical voice? How do you see that progression in yourself?
That's so funny you said refining because I like to think I refined the Afrobeat space that I'm in right now.
Mm,
I like to think that my Afrobeat sound is very much refined. Like it doesn't sound like the traditional Afrobeat music you hear. Um, man, the first album was also kind of like we went towards home as far as like how we wanted to market it. Like
sure.
when the first 6 months was like, let's go to Cape Verde, let's go market it here and see what happens. And a year later, I end up winning two awards, which is the CVMAs, which is like our kind of the Grammys for Cape Verde.
Hmm.
I won two of those, and I was really well received back home, and did a lot of shows, big shows, festivals, 20,000 people singing my song word for word. In the first year, I released my first album, so that was the goal with the first tape. But shortly after, 6 months after, the music started spreading to Europa, Netherlands,
Yes.
London, Paris, and Germany. That's when my music started like gaining steam. And I'm like, shit. So progressively, I feel like naturally this Seven Seas theme became the second body of work, like kind of, just highlighting that the music is now like spreading to the Seven Seas. But yeah, man, all this happened really fucking quickly, to be honest with
Okay.
you. And still trying to play catch up to a lot of it. So yeah, man, it's interesting to see how things unfold. Yeah.
Sure. And I also can imagine, I mean, as, as you mentioned, it's going so fast, and while you're in it, it might be difficult to kind of get a good grasp on it. But
Yeah.
how do you, is the ambition to conquer the world, so to say?
I mean, man, the ambition is to just bring love and light to people. And when I perform, I truly enjoy making it as intimate as possible. Like it's about us. It's about us sharing the space and cultivating an energy that we all feel better when we leave. That's what I've always wanted to convey with my music since I was yay high. But yeah, there is ambitions, man. I want a fucking 10-piece band with me on stage, private jet so I can get to all these fucking places and bring a bunch of people, horn sections, accordion,
Mm,
batouk. I want a band, like and it takes time. It takes time to build that. I had only a three-piece band. I didn't even have keys this tour to cut costs.
okay.
I had a guitarist, I had piano, sorry, no piano. I had guitarist, bass, and a drummer
Mm,
in my backing tracks. And when I go home to Cape Verde and I do a show, I have like a whole band and sometimes
right.
out an additional piece. But like, the ambition is to really make sure my shows are super tight. And like I grew up singing with the band since I was a kid, with the horn section, all this and all. And now it's like super cost of the cost of putting on a tour is no joke, man.
Especially if you have to cross an ocean for it, I think.
Yeah, man, it's not a joke. The road life ain't easy, but the goal is to expand and do stadiums. Yes. That's what we
Is it a surreal feeling that kind of obviously you're now an acclaimed artist, but the fact that people even listen, is that still surreal in a way that you can go kind of halfway across the world and people know what you've been up to and
and I didn't know what to because I came to find out that a lot of people that listen to my music don't necessarily like might follow me on Instagram or when I
mm,
post something on tour. Not everyone's like, "Hey, I'm coming." So you don't know what the
mm,
reception. But when these people showed up, they're actually fans of the music. Like really. So it was really fun and interesting to see because man, it was amazing. We sold out all these cities and the feedback was just it was it was reciprocated. I enjoyed it. They enjoyed it. It was like I was like, what the fuck? They're singing these songs, man. It was amazing. It was good to see, good to feel. It was my first run, so it was really all the work and testament to everything I've been doing. It was worthy, man. It was definitely worth it.
Oh, that's good to hear. Now, I have a couple kind of final questions about your philosophy on songwriting. First of all, how do you start kind of with a song? Is it just can you start with a bit of music? Is it maybe a lyric or something? But how do you generally write songs?
Man, it never happens the same way.
Mm,
I like to think that it never um it's so random sometimes. Sometimes I'm on guitar, sometimes I get beats. For the most part, for my last album, my producers, to be honest, the ones that produce most of my stuff, they're from the Netherlands.
mm.
And one of them is Cape Verdean, and one of them is Turkish, has his beard this long to his nuts, and the other guy had dressed to his knees. That's how I met him here in LA. Randomly one time, just like, and they send me packs, and when they send me packs, I usually come up with melodies or if I'm writing with a friend or a songwriter, we sit together and we come up with some melodies. There's time where I'm like just writing on my phone randomly some lyrics that I'm like, okay, this is what I'm about to do on this next the whatever beat I hear. I already have like the theme kind of,
Mm,
so or sometimes I'm on a guitar and I come up with a riff and might be the beginning to something I send my guys and they produce on top of that. So it always happens all kinds of way. And when I was in Netherlands working with them, they would pull up a beat and I would just do a bunch of melodies and just but no words, just
mm.
melodies, things that felt nice. And then I pen the words after and it never happens the same way. It never does, man. It always varies in environment, if
Sure.
you're, inspired or not. Like all these factors are why a song exists or doesn't, for me
But
at
then
least.
I think the melody part is very interesting because one thing and this is just my observation, whether it's correct or anything, it's beside the point, I suppose.
Mhm.
But there's seems to be a certain smoothness in your flow and delivery, the way you use your voice. Is that something conscious? Is there how have you kind of developed that melodic style of yours?
Man, to be honest, like I stopped trying to do too much. Some people can sing and really sing strong and like and sometimes I could sing, especially when I sing live, like I sing strong and like, but like on songs I like to just do the bare minimum because sometimes when you do less, it's more in that way. You don't have to sit here and riff three riffs to just so people can know you can sing. I like to
Mm,
come with a message and make sure that I'm in a certain frequency. But I don't think about those things, man. I just do for the most part. There's songs that have more energetic feels and some that are just more chill. And I always try to go back to things that I grew up with and how chill everything feels and sounds back home. So I always try to dial back to that.
and the last thing I want to mention is kind of the maybe it's a little bit too pretentious, but the role of music or the function of music in human beings. And you mentioned the word kind of connecting and making people feel something, especially when you're performing live. How do you see kind of the role of music? Because music can be used for so many things like escapism, just sheer entertainment. It can be a voice to get people to act. It's what is your approach to what you kind of want to how
Music
you
is
how you how you want to affect people with your music?
music is healing. Like before before my stuff or artistry, I listened to a lot of music, a lot of different genres, a lot of different types of music. So I consume music like I know what's coming. I'm like before
Yeah.
something gets hot, I know like that's me. I'm a consumer first. So I know what it does for me. Like not because I do it and because I've been in it my whole life, but because what it does for me. Like when I'm
Sure.
listening. a random song, I don't even look up these fucking artists half the time. I don't. I just, if I like something, I download it. And if I listen to it, if I listen to it two more times, or if there's another song from that artist, then I might go find, like, who is this?
Mm,
But music to me is that. It's like, it's a healing force. I might be in the mood. I might be something I go to use for the gym, or like there's different moments for music for me. But it's I get up every day for the most part in my daily life. I just go back to traditional Cape Verdean music for me. It's like
okay.
what I play to just neutralize me and like get me going every single day. I have to play either Cisadia, Maida, Ildo, Lobo, or jazz music, or just I'm like, yo, Alexa, play jazz music. Like for me, it's that it's healing. And I feel like when I get up there and people can connect with me in that way too, and say, I get message all the time. People's like, yo, I feel very at peace when I hear your music. It just calms me down. I'm like, if you left better than what you came in with, and whatever the fuck issues we all got as the human
Mm,
condition, we feel all kinds of things. And if you left feeling a little bit better and your frequencies got raised, I did my job. I can go home happy, you know?
I think
I
that's
like,
beautiful.
and that's what music is for me, man. Seriously.
All right, June, May, I thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.
Okay, thank brother. Thank you.